Peace be with you. I am Bruce Wozniak. This is Catholic Sports Radio, located at the intersection of your faith life and sports life, and on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and lots of other platforms. Thanks so much for joining me for this and hopefully many other episodes. The show website is catholicsportsradio.net. I do hope that by this point in the show's more than 2-year history, you have visited the website. It was built by Merchantside Marketing Group, which has built award-winning websites, and they even include catholicsportsradio.net in the information they send out to potential new clients. To learn more about them, click through their $99 a month ad on catholicsportsradio.net. And speaking of this show's website, you can listen there, but there are also links there to hear the show on all kinds of podcast listening apps, and there are links on the website to Catholic Sports Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. There is also a Facebook group, which is called Catholic Sports Radio Community. There are listeners of this show in that group, as well as some former guests. There's a button for that, too, on catholicsportsradio.net. And do please help me spread the word about this show and tell others who would enjoy and benefit from listening about Catholic Sports Radio. Now on to my ministry moment for this episode. There have been some trends that were being seen in 2 of the major professional sports recently that warranted changes. In hockey, there were too many hits from behind that led to fines and suspensions now being handed out, with the basis being an emphasis on player safety. In baseball, there are debates about things like if there are, say, too many home runs or too many strikeouts, meaning does a batter or does a pitcher have an unfair competitive advantage? And as a result, we currently all have a front row seat for this new rule about pitchers not being allowed to use anything but rosin when they're on the mound. Trends start to occur, and so then changes have to be made. I see a disturbing trend myself on Twitter in particular when I post on Sundays my clip of the ministry moment on the podcast episode being released the next day. On that day of the week, I will see a lot of use of hashtags that are connected to tweets about church and faith and being Catholic or Christian. But when it's the middle of or the latter part of the week, the frequency with which those are being used has significantly dwindled, which means that folks just aren't posting about their faith then. In other words, pretty much mainly on Sunday. This is a trend that has to change. Unlike sports and the rule book for each league or competition, there's nothing restricting us to only being outward with our faith on Sunday. In Luke's Gospel, chapter 8, verse 39 says, "Return home and recount what God has done for you." The man went off and proclaimed throughout the whole town what Jesus had done for him. Note that Jesus did not tell him to wait until Sunday to do it, nor does it state that the man went off and proclaimed the next Sunday what Jesus had done. Let us boast in our faith the whole week and not just on Sunday. Moving on now with this week's episode, my guest was a tight end in the National Football League, having been the 12th overall pick in the first round of the 1983 draft by the Buffalo Bills, with whom he played for 2 years before going on to play 2 more seasons with the Los Angeles Rams, all following a collegiate career as a 4-year starter for the University of Notre Dame, where he led the Fighting Irish in receiving each of his last 3 seasons and was a first-team All-American as a senior. During his time with the Bills, he made the NFL's All-Rookie team. Plus, he would go on to win a division title and get within a game of the Super Bowl, and along the way, he played alongside future Hall of Famers. Welcome to Catholic Sports Radio, Tony Hunter.
Thank you, Bruce. I'm glad to be here. I really appreciate it.
Sure thing, Tony. You were born in Cincinnati, but as I just mentioned, went on to play college football at Notre Dame and then in the NFL for Buffalo and Los Angeles. Yet here you are today, back in Cincinnati. What were your childhood days like there? How many brothers and sisters did you have? And was this presumably a Catholic household you grew up in?
Well, basically, my mom was a single mom of 4 who basically dedicated her life to the betterment of her children. That's my age. She passed about 6 years ago. But, yeah, I had a very young mother, and I had 2 older sisters and a younger brother.
And was this a Catholic household that you grew up in?
No, basically, my mother was Baptist, and my family was predominantly Baptist. But I just so happened to meet a guy along the way. I think I was probably about in the 8th or ninth grade, by the name of Jerry Faust, who was the head coach at Cincinnati Mole High School. And I met Coach Faust, and my mom was introduced to him. My mom loved him, thought he was a great guy. And he was talking to me about coming to Moeller. I had been in public schools my whole life up until that point. The Moeller was a private Catholic school that was a part of the Greater Cincinnati Catholic School League. We call it the GCL. And I went ahead and I decided that I wanted to give Moeller a shot. And I tell you what, it turned out to be the best decision I ever made in my life.
Wow.
I decided to go to Moeller. It really did turn out to be the best decision I've ever made. And while at Moeller, I converted to Catholicism.
Okay. Well, I wonder, is football the only sport that you played, or were there any others when you were young?
Oh yeah, there were other sports. I started off, baseball was my first love of sport. I was a really good baseball player. Played everywhere, catcher, pitcher, first, second, third base, shortstop. You name it, I played everywhere, and I was good at it. A lot of people that saw me play as a youngster feel like that I was a better baseball player. Well, they felt that I could have played pro baseball.
Wow.
As well as pro football. And also basketball. I was all-state in basketball, All-American in basketball in high school. So I was two-sport All-American in both football and basketball in high school.
So I wonder, being that you mentioned that you grew up in a household that had a single mom, there wasn't a dad that was influencing you of what sport to play. So how were you getting into playing all these different sports and being so good at it, at more than one?
You know what? That's a good question, Bruce. But I have an uncle. My father's brother was a really good athlete. And I was wondering when I picked up that athletic team. My mom used to always say it was because of her. She played basketball, girls basketball in high school. And they traveled all around the state of Mississippi. And she said she was a really good basketball player. But my father's was not very athletic. But his brother was. He actually played a little pro football, and that's my Uncle Jenks. And actually, Jenks is a great boxing trainer. He trained Sugar Leonard.
Wow!
From the time he was in Golden Glove boxing up in Washington D.C.
Wow!
Jenks, my uncle was his trainer, and I actually met Ray on a couple of occasions. Before he had actually gone to the Olympics, and it had blown up popularity-wise.
Okay.
But I had met Ray a few times before then through my Uncle James.
Okay. Well, let's back up to your high school days. You mentioned that you attended Archbishop Moeller High School in Cincinnati, which, as you said, is a Catholic school, and you did play football there. You were mentioning your coach was Jerry Faust, who, by the way, listeners, would also be Tony's coach at Notre Dame. But, Tony, just thinking of the time that you were in high school, talk to us about the fact that Jerry was Catholic. And I'm thinking that what you're saying is that it helped you as it related to becoming more rooted in your faith as opposed to just learning football techniques from him.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Coach Faust is a devout Christian, Catholic, very spiritual person. Hail Marys all day long. Let's say Hail Mary. He's always in prayer. Very spiritual man. And just his example, I had always believed in my God. but it just went to another level when I found myself around Coach Fowles and basically watching how he worshiped and the kind of human being that he was. He really took on a fatherly role for me in high school. And it just so happened I left Moore and went to Notre Dame. And basically that's he thought that was a good move. That's where he wanted me to go. And I knew that.
I was going to ask you how much of the decision to attend Notre Dame was about it being a Catholic school. Clearly, they're known for their football program, and as I mentioned, you would be playing there under the same coach you had in high school. But was the Catholic part of it something that influenced your decision too? Or maybe I'm wrong and you got a scholarship, which of course makes the decision very easy.
Right. No. I think it had something to do with it because of my background in Moore. I felt I would be in a very similar situation that I was in Moore, because Moore was a Catholic high school, and the environment that I was in would be pretty much the same type of environment that I would be in at Notre Dame, and the spiritual element of that. I used to go in for prayer by myself. They had a little chapel in the school that was basically open all the time, and I would go in there in high school. And at Notre Dame, when I was lived at Soren Hall, which is like right at center campus, I was right next door to the school church, which was always unlocked, and for the most part. And I would always go in and sit down in there and by myself and be at prayer.
Wow! And
this is a funny story. One time I was sitting in there, and I normally, when I go in the chapel up in Notre Dame, there's not many people there. I think this was during the week. It wasn't very busy, but I'm sitting there in prayer with my eyes closed, and I feel this tap on my shoulder, and I open my eyes, and it's Father Joyce. I mean, he's president. The Father has been was president, but Father Joyce was next in line of the whole university, and he got me on my shoulder. How you doing, Tony? And Father Joyce is in the chapel, and with me, he and I were the only ones there. But that's what I really liked about Notre Dame, and Moore was very, very similar.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds like in both cases that it wasn't just all about athletics, that your faith life flourished a lot, even though all people were seeing on the outside and all people were hearing about was Tony Hunter, the football player. But in fact, you were developing just as much in your faith as you were in your sport.
Oh, absolutely. It was actually what got me through those hard times in Notre Dame, because I tell you what, it's tough. You know, when you got, basically your full-time job is playing football and being a student at Notre Dame, and a student athlete. But I tell you, it's tough, man. It was very tough at times, and it was I think it was my spiritual foundation that really got me through that.
Nice. Well, folks, no doubt I obviously am going to turn the conversation towards Tony having been a first-round draft pick and going on to play in the NFL. But first, I not only have an update to pass along, since I'm always trying to be transparent with everything I'm doing with Catholic Sports Radio, but I also have to once again repeat how grateful I am for your prayers, for all of you who email me, for your social media engagement, and yes, my gratitude for the financial support that some of you have provided for Catholic Sports Radio. If you've been listening to the last handful of episodes, you heard me thanking an anonymous donor 2 weeks ago, and by name, thanking a couple recent guests who have all donated. This is my ministry, and even though I've been putting out a new episode of Catholic Sports Radio every week for close to 2.5 years now, the expenses don't stop just because I've gotten this far into it. In fact, it's able to be this far into its existence by the grace of God and because of your prayers for me in this ministry and your financial support. Over a number of episodes of this show, I have detailed specific costs that I'm faced with And since I don't get any income from doing this, nor do I have any sponsors, I otherwise have to try to find a way to cover those expenses out of my own pocket. The update is that I am in the middle of looking at what it's going to cost me to move to a different website hosting company. Thanks, by the way, to the recommendation of Merchantside Marketing Group, who I said at the start of this show built CatholicSportsRadio.net. And I'm also having to talk to people about the cost involved with having someone regularly look after and handle the maintenance on the website. It's over 2 years old now, and as we know, with cars, with houses, whatever, as things start to age, you have to be prepared with costs pertaining to their upkeep. Thus, yikes, I'm faced with more expenses for my ministry. So if what I'm doing is making an impact, if you believe in this ministry, you like Catholic Sports Radio and feel it's helping your faith life, you believe in the mission and think it's a good resource to help others in their faith life, I would appreciate your prayerful consideration of a contribution. I have sometimes referred to it as a form of tithing, and I can tell you that there are 2 ways that you can bless this show with financial assistance. You can do it securely online through the Donate to CSR button on the homepage of CatholicSportsRadio.net. It's fast and easy to do, and you can contribute in whatever amount you wish. There's no drop-down menu of amounts to choose from when you utilize the Donate to CSR button on CatholicSportsRadio.net. You put in whatever amount you're comfortable with. Alternatively, as some folks have done, you can instead send in a check through the mail. Just go to the contact section of the website to send a message to ask for the address to send it to, and I will personally email you back with the information for where you can mail your check. Your contribution will greatly help me with the expenses that I'm referring to that come with operating the Catholic Sports Radio ministry. I'll happily even say your name when you support the show with an online contribution or by sending a check. Or, of course, as some have asked me to do, you can choose to keep it anonymous. No contribution is too big and no contribution is too small. Do pray about it and consider a contribution to Catholic Sports Radio and helping me to continue on and give back with my time and talent in an effort to move more people closer to Christ. Tony, you get chosen in the first round of the NFL draft, which has to be just so exciting for a college athlete. Is it tough to not let that go to your head, or to use a word very common in the Catholic faith, were you humble because all of a sudden you show up at training camp and you're surrounded by NFL veterans?
Right. I was going to say that. I was going to say something about the NFL being a very competitive league, so as far as being humbled, you better get in top shape and be ready to go, because you will be challenged like you never have. Because even though I played Division I college football, there's a big difference between college football and pro football. On a week-to-week basis, the competition is really intense.
Yeah, so the excitement of being a first-round draft pick is probably that. It's exciting on the actual night of the draft, but after that, it's okay, the celebrating is over with. Now it's time to put the work in.
Exactly. And, it was a blessing. It was a great time for me and my family. I was the 12th pick taken in the first round, and there were some that were saying that you may go sooner than that. There were others that were saying you may go later than that, as late as the 4th round. So I was kind of surprised that I won in the first and the 12th pick. And it gave me an opportunity to help my mom out a little bit. The first thing I bought was my mother a house. And, I bought her the dream home that she always wanted and that I always promised her. If I ever made it in pro sports, I said, I'm going to buy you a home. And that was a dream that was fulfilled. I tell you what, that's not a lot of people actually get a chance to fulfill in their life. And
that's beautiful.
Yeah, I was able to do that. And so
that's beautiful.
I'm more proud about that.
Wow. Well, I don't know how much sports fans actually stop to think about an athlete and their feelings and the impact on their personal life when they get traded. From the fans' perspective, it's usually only about the impact on the team, whether they gave up too much, got someone who's an upgrade, those types of things. You went all the way across the country from Buffalo to Los Angeles. Never mind having to learn a new playbook and get to know more than 50 new teammates. You have to find a new place to live, find your way around, find a new church. Talk about going through all that.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that was a tough time as I look back on it. I had played 2 years in Buffalo. It was during the off season. I think I had about a month before training camp was to start in Buffalo. And it just so happened one day, I get a call from John Hamilton, who's the head coach for the Rams. And he said, Tony, we just gave up a lot to get you. We gave up a second-round pick, our quarterback, and I forget what else it was. But anyway, he said, I'm going to send you a ticket so you can fly out on Monday.
Wow.
It was Friday, in fact.
Wow.
I said, wow. Okay, so Monday comes around. I'm on a plane at like 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. I get to L.A. at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The Rams are in the second session practicing. The rookies are in the first week. They put me in pads that day, and I was out there going full bore that day. I had been on a flight all day long. So that surprised me. And it was a tough transition. It was they expected a lot, and they pushed hard. But overall, I enjoyed my stay in Los Angeles. I liked L.A.
Well, after 2 years with Buffalo and then 2 years with the Rams, you went to training camp with the Chargers, but you hung them up because of a knee injury. How challenging is it to go from first-round draft pick to now what am I going to do with the rest of my life? Was there a lot of prayer during all that, or was it the opposite and you were mad at God and maybe did not lean on your faith for help?
That's a very tough time. The transition from professional football, I thought it was kind of tough for me, but I was investing in real estate. I started a property management company while I was playing. So basically, when I was done with the Chargers, I had the knee injury. I couldn't finish summer camp, so I was released. I came back to Cincinnati, and I had bought some multiple-unit apartment buildings, and I started a property management company called Nationwide Property Management. And I did that for the next 25 years.
Wow. Well, you have worked in fundraising for Archbishop Moeller High School, and you have worked with their freshman football team. Does being in that Catholic setting help bring out that facet of who you are?
Oh yeah. I love working with the young kids. And I love being at Moeller. Being up at Moeller, it's just it was a special time in my life, and that support from Moeller, I'm glad to say, is still there for me, and also the Notre Dame support is still there for me. So I'm very grateful. I'm very, very grateful for that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's great to hear. We're in the home stretch here, and I wanted to wrap up by asking you, nowadays, with all the glitz and glamour of the NFL and the draft and what a practically billion-dollar business it has become, What advice would you give to student athletes who look at it as the ticket to happiness and success and financial security?
That's a good question, Bruce. Just coming from my perspective, as far as that always being a dream that I held, was to make it into becoming a professional athlete. That was a man from as far back as I can remember, and I wanted to do it to help my mother and to help my family. But my recommendation would be you can't save the world. So don't try it. If you do, make it professionally. You can't save the world. There's always going to be someone in your family that has a bill to be paid, needs to be paid, or the lights are going out. I got a lot of that when I was playing. And it got old pretty fast because, it's nonstop. Those problems are going to always be there for you or for your family members. But the thing is, don't try to save the world, with what you're doing. You can be nice to people and you can do for people, but there has to be a limit. There has to be somewhere where you say no. And I think I learned that over time. You're not going to save the world, but you can make it a lot better for yourself and your immediate family. And I think I made it better for my mom and for myself.
Yeah, for sure. It certainly sounds like it. Well, Tony, it's been great having you on the show. God bless you, and thank you so much for making time to be on Catholic Sports Radio.
Thank you for having me, Bruce. I enjoyed it.
Absolutely. My pleasure. And listeners, since we have a former NFL player on the line, I thought that we would close this week's show with an athlete's prayer. So let's do that together in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. For I asked God for strength that I might achieve. Instead, I was made weak that I might learn to humbly obey. I asked for help that I might do greater things. Instead, I was given infirmity that I might do better things. I asked for riches that I might be happy. I was given poverty that I might be wise. I asked for power that I might have the praises of men. I was given weakness that I might feel the need of God. I asked for things that I might enjoy life. I was given life that I might enjoy all things. I got nothing I asked for, but everything I hoped for. Almost despite myself, my unspoken prayers were answered. Because I am among all athletes who have been most richly blessed, you see, I lost by inches, but I won by a mile. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thanks so much for listening. This is Catholic Sports Radio. Find more at catholicsportsradio.net, as well as on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It is at Cath Sports Radio on all those, CATH, at Cath Sports Radio. I'm Bruce Wozniak, and remember, it's not whether you win or lose, it's that it's Jesus that you always choose.